You've entered Midnight Terrors, where every story is a door to the unknown, and some doors should never be opened. Before we dive into tonight's tale, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell, because once the shadows find you, you won't want to be alone. Share these nightmares with those you love or those you'd rather haunt. Your support feeds the darkness. Now, take a deep breath, if you can, and let's begin. I didn't believe in ghosts. Not really. Sure, I enjoyed a good horror movie now and then, but I never thought I'd be the kind of person to experience something truly terrifying. That changed when I moved into Blackwood Hall. Blackwood was the oldest dorm on campus, built in the early 1900s. It had a reputation: flickering lights, doors that creaked open on their own, and whispers in the halls when no one was there. Just ghost stories, right? I thought so too, until I met my roommate. Her name was Lillian. When I arrived, I was surprised to find someone already living in my assigned room. A girl sat cross-legged on the bed by the window, staring out at the courtyard below. Her hair was long and dark, her skin pale as if she never saw the sun. She didn't even turn when I walked in, only speaking in a soft, distant voice. "I was wondering when you'd get here." She was strange, but I didn't mind. I figured she was just quiet, maybe introverted. We coexisted fine for the first few days. She barely spoke, rarely left the room, and at night she whispered in her sleep. But then, things got odd. I'd wake up to find her sitting on the edge of her bed, staring at the wall, mouthing words I couldn't hear. Objects in the room would move, small things at first, a pen rolling off the desk, a book left open on a page I hadn't read. Then, one night, I woke to find her standing by my bed, her head tilted as if listening to something I couldn't hear. The next morning, I found symbols scratched into the wooden floor between our beds. She never acknowledged them, but that night her whispers turned to laughter, and I swear it wasn't just her voice I heard. Later, I would wake up to the sound of her mumbling, soft, breathy words I couldn't quite make out. But the more it happened, the more I began to understand. She was saying names, over and over again: Rachel, Sophie, Hannah, Olivia. One night, I finally worked up the courage to ask her about it. "Lillian, you keep whispering in your sleep. Are you dreaming?" She looked up at me, her dark eyes filled with something I couldn't quite place. "I don't sleep," she said simply. That was the moment the unease turned into fear. I started noticing other things. Lillian never ate. She never changed clothes, and she was always cold, so cold that sitting next to her made my skin prickle. Then, I realized something horrifying. No one else ever acknowledged her. One night, my friend Sarah came over to study. She plopped onto my bed and started flipping through her notes when she suddenly frowned. "Why do you have two beds?" she asked. I blinked. "Because I have a roommate." Sarah gave me a strange look. "No, you don't." My blood turned to ice. I turned to Lillian, sitting right there on her bed, staring out the window like she always did. Sarah couldn't see her. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my breath shallow and unsteady. And then, at around 3 a.m., I heard her voice, whispering. But this time, it was closer, right beside me. I squeezed my eyes shut, my body frozen in fear. "Why won't you help me?" she whispered. I couldn't move. My throat felt tight, my pulse hammering in my ears. What do you want?" I finally choked out. She didn't answer right away. Then, in a voice so quiet it was almost carried away by the wind, she said, "They never found me." The next day, I went to the campus archives. I spent hours digging through old newspaper clippings until I found it. A photo from 1963. The headline read, "Student goes missing from Blackwood Hall, presumed dead." And there, in black and white, was Lillian's face. I bolted out of the library, my stomach twisting into knots. She had been dead for over 50 years. Yet every night she sat in that room, whispering the names of those who had vanished before her. Names I now recognize from missing person reports. Names that should have been forgotten. I tried to leave campus, to escape whatever unseen force had wrapped its fingers around me. But my body betrayed me. My legs moved without my command, dragging me back like a marionette on invisible strings. I wasn't running anymore. I was being placed, returned, like an object put back on a shelf. I blinked, and suddenly I was back in the room. My body refused to move. My breath hitched. It was as if the puppet master had tightened his grip. That night, I didn't sleep. I couldn't. I sat up in bed, every nerve in my body screaming, waiting. At exactly 3 a.m., I felt the cold seep into the room. My breath turned to mist. And then, right next to my ear, I heard her whisper. The door never opened, but she was there, standing at the foot of my bed. Her lips parted, and in a voice that wasn't hers, she whispered my name. They never found me, and they won't find you either. The door slammed shut. The lights flickered. And the last thing I heard before the darkness swallowed me whole was my own name slipping from her lips. Just when all hope seemed lost, a faint sound broke through the suffocating darkness. A chorus of voices, soft at first, then rising like a tidal wave. Mary's prayer group. Their words cut through the air, each syllable pushing back the unseen force that held me captive. The whispers in the room turned to shrieks. The grip on my body wavered. And then suddenly, I could move. My legs were mine again. Without hesitation, I bolted toward the sound, every step feeling like a battle against something unseen clawing at my heels. Bursting into the circle of flickering candlelight, I collapsed at Mary's feet, gasping. The shadows behind me recoiled, twisting in agony before vanishing into the night. I was saved, but I knew this wasn't over.